Good evening. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing well out there. This podcast is going to be about the One Patriot movement. My name is Burning Spirit Patriot, and
I am Libby Lioux, Patriot.
we are very happy to bring about this movement. Now, first, we want to start with our political journeys, how we came up and how we came up to shape and mold our political views. We're going to start with myself. I grew up in a very pro-black, Afrocentric home. My mother is from the island of Jamaica, and my dad is from Detroit. And my dad's family moved and settled in San Diego. And my mother met my father while he took a trip to Jamaica. They hit it off. He brought her here, and they had a family. Like I said earlier, we were a very pro-black, very Afrocentric family. My parents had us reading Black history. I learned a lot about the continent of Africa. I was very, very well read and well versed on African history. And I am very grateful for that. And I really appreciate them for that. But they never really taught me to have pride for my country. They never really taught me to have pride for as being just an American. And it seemed like there was always a negative view or outlook on this country in my household, which is probably very common in a lot of African American homes. But later on in life, I was able to change that. I joined the military, and we're going to fast forward all the way up to 2009, when I was a 100% Barack Obama supporter. There was a sailor, because I was in the Navy, that I saw watching this movie, or it was more of a documentary, and it was a documentary on Barack Obama. And there was a guy that was narrating it, and he had kind of this like rugged, raspy voice. And I was like, who is this person talking about Barack Obama? And I was like, I asked the guy, what are you watching? And he said, oh, this is Obama. This is a documentary about Obama and how he's a part of the establishment. And I just didn't want to, me being a Barack Obama supporter, I'm like, oh, this is BS. Like, who is this guy think he is talking about
How are you
Barack
going to sit
Obama?
there and lie to me?
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and he's like, no, this is Alex Jones, man. This guy's legit. And I was like, Alex Jones, who is that? And to this day, I credit Alex Jones for red pilling me, because the sailor recommended me to go on YouTube and look up, because when Alex Jones was still on YouTube, he had a bunch of documentaries on there, and I was able to look at the documentaries, and it pretty much red pilled me. I'm not gonna lie, because after the documentaries, I did a lot of my research, and then a lot of what Alex Jones was saying on those documentaries came into fruition. Like, Barack Obama turned out to be another establishment crony politician, and it just was eye-opening to me. And 2012, I did not vote for Barack Obama. I wrote my name in, essentially.
Definitely would have been a better pick.
Well, thank you. But yeah, I mean, it was just something that I just could not support Barack Obama anymore, and I couldn't support Romney anymore. I couldn't support Romney because he was an establishment politician. So it would be like the two were pretty much the same to me. I mean, when you look at them, like, one's a Republican, one's a Democrat, and they were pretty much the same to me on paper. Just establishment politics, crony politicians. So maybe I should have, I don't know, wrote Ron Paul's name in at the time. I could have probably wrote his name in, but I didn't really know much about the guy, so I just wrote my own name in. And fast forward to 2015. a guy named Donald Trump comes by, and something that resonated with me was he said, specifically to the black community, and I don't like to play identity politics, but it was something that resonated with me that he said, specifically to the black community. He said, "What have you got to lose?" And that was just something that just like was so eye-opening because at that point I was done with politicians. I just like to sit on the sideline and complain. But Donald Trump really spoke to me when he said, "What have you got to lose?" And I took a step back and I looked and I said, you know, because at that time I was not a Republican. I still don't consider myself a Republican. I consider myself to be a conservative populist. But I looked at, wow, the last few decades, black people have been voting for Democrats, and their circumstances have not changed. They've done everything from the Civil Rights Act, war on poverty, everything. And sometimes some of those things that the Democrats they may have meant well, but it has hurt black people even more. I mean, with affirmative action and everything, it's just everything that they try to do has been a failure. So I looked at that and I was like, let me give Donald Trump a chance because he's speaking my language right now. Excuse me, I'm kind of under the weather. So if I cough every now and then, please bear with me. Take a swig of water right now. But so yeah, that really resonated with me. Him saying, "What have you got to lose?" We as a black community in America are at the bottom when it comes to education, at the bottom when it comes to the unemployment rate, at the bottom when it comes to, or at the top when it comes to incarceration rates, at the top when it comes to violent crimes, especially crimes against each other. We are just at the bottom of the barrel on every single category. And I'm not saying that politicians are going to be able to change that, but I think it does start within the community, and it's something that we have to change for ourselves and stop looking for somebody to save us. And I feel like the conservative ideology, political ideology, is something that I feel like the black community can take some of those values and establish that into our culture. Because I personally think, and I might get some heat for this, but modern black culture is toxic. And that's my personal opinion. And that can be saved for another podcast for when we can get into depth into that. But I think modern day American black culture is toxic. We have lost our conservative values. We are moving more because I believe that black Americans are naturally conservative. But as the years have gone by, we've moved more further to the left. And I would like to help bring us back into at least the center or even to the right. So I don't necessarily like playing identity politics, but I'm just saying like what shaped my political views and how I got to becoming a conservative. And I want to definitely establish a relationship with God. I have not been the best at establishing that relationship. I used to be a long time ago, and I've gotten away from that. And being a conservative, that is something that I really would like to establish again. Would you like to go ahead and give your
Yeah.
political journey?
Take a turn. Yeah. As I listen to your journey, I think it's interesting that we come from like very, very different, like very
Absolutely.
opposite backgrounds, which is interesting. But so yeah, to kick it off, I'm Libby Lioux, Patriot, and I grew up in a very red state. I grew up in a very conservative household, very religious households. You know, it was not just church every Sunday. It was church every Sunday, weekly activities. You know, but all very religious. We'll just say it that.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up hunting. I grew up around guns. I grew up, you know, in a very, I say Bush positive, but that's sounds slightly.
A Bush positive, like George Bush?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I didn't really question things really until I probably about 17, 18, I started going like, well, this doesn't fit into like how I want to live life.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Is this when you started becoming more left leaning?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I started going like, well, started going left leaning, and then once I got out of high school, you know, I remember sitting down with my mom and being like, listen, which if you know my mom, you don't say that, but first of all, I was like, I'm not going to church. I, you know, support LGBT. I, you know, everything, you know, was just like poo-pooed on everything.
Yeah.
That
you grew up on.
That I grew up on.
Yeah.
So I moved to Washington, where, you know, it was lived in Seattle, it was very liberal, as we're all
absolutely
very familiar with. But, so moved up there, stopped, you know, I wasn't heavily involved in politics at the time, but I, you know, kind of fell into the category of like, oh, the left is so loving and all embracing, and it's all like squeaky, you know. It was just very cut and dry. Like, you know, I'm going to be more on the left. While independent, never really Democrat, I was very much like, this is the party of love. And I was
tolerance.
Love and tolerance. Oh, yes. So I, you know, identified along those lines. And flash forward, you know, about, you know, what, 10 years later, I ended up moving back to my home state. And well, actually, even before that, actually. So I supported Obama. Voted for Obama. I thought he was like this great beacon, promise of hope, and, you know, was going to be the change for all these wonderful things that I wanted to see. Anti-establishment, and I, on the surface level, you know, I was like, cool, that's great. Presidency ended.
Yeah.
Flash forward, I move back to my home state, and that was in 2015, 16. And I was absolutely mortified that Donald Trump was running. I actually scoffed. I remember seeing it on the news, and I was like, this fool. Like, there's no way. He's not going to win.
Yeah.
So I remember like getting in, you know, big heated debates, like who could vote for this this idiot, like, right? Who could vote for this? And so I voted, you know, grin and bearing, I voted for Hillary because I was very much Bernie supporter.
You were a Bernie bro.
Exactly.
Except
Bernie
you're
bro.
a woman.
Bernie babe.
Bernie babe, yeah, there you go.
So, I voted for Hillary, and I remember watching the polls come in, like, what the? How could this be happening? How could Trump be winning? I don't understand. I don't get it. And just in shell shock, really. Mm-hmm. And so I spent the next almost entirety of his first 3 years of his presidency just being a headline crusader, if you will. Like, he said this. Can you believe it? He's so racist. Like,
Yeah.
And falling into that lack of depth politics. So, flash forward, it's, 3 years into the presidency. I still had kind of shifted back to some of my more conservative roots, but still very much more libertarian, really, than liberal. But, what really kind of shifted my thinking, was, you were kind of like a tipping point for it. Like,
Well, thank you.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm happy to take some credit,
Yeah. You were definitely, and what.
Glad I can have some positive influence.
Yes, very much. Because you were like, I'm a Trump supporter, and, most of the time that's like,
Yeah.
I
Kind of swerve the other way.
Yeah, but because I had moved back, and because I kind of had more conversations, and because I know, like, my parents especially, like, they're huge Trump supporters.
Yeah.
And I was like, if the best people I know in the world are Trump supporters, then there's got to be something to it. Mm-hmm. And I'm very much like facts over feelings type of person. Especially, like, that's in my job, I have to be able to differentiate, segment those two.
Absolutely.
So I was like, okay, it's time for me to really dig into some facts here. Yeah. So, we started having a lot of conversation. But what really was the tipping point for me was when the pandemic hit, and he started having his daily briefings.
Right.
Me, I'm like, I want to stay informed. I want to, keep safe. I want to know what's happening. Yeah. And I started noticing that what he was saying in these briefings was translated wildly different in mainstream media. Yeah. It was like, what? No, he didn't say that. They must just be confused. You know, like, no. And then it kept happening on a daily basis, and it was just like, and then, you get into like
Trump, examples like Trump told people to drink bleach.
Exactly. It's like,
no, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
It's along the lines of like the very fine people hoax.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
So that was that. And then, I kind of started questioning, I'd questioned because Bernie got hosed by the DNC.
Right.
And then there were a couple other incidents where, I knew a woman here in town that I've known probably since I was, 10 years old.
Yeah.
And, a person of very high moral standards.
Yeah.
And I happened to be driving across town one day, and I saw her standing on a street corner, and I was like, is that so-and-so?
Yeah.
Oh, snap, it is. Like, she was holding up this sign that was like, COVID is a hoax. And I was like, what is she on right now? Yeah. So I pulled over, started talking to her, and she was like, she owns a medical facility here in town. And she was like, one of my patients passed away and was marked as a COVID death.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, there's no way that was a COVID death.
Yeah.
She had known this person for a very long time, and she's like, that was her tipping point. And so that was another one for me where I was like, oh, this person that I've known for so long is, anecdotal if you want, but I think, in my personal life, I've known at least 3.
Right. I mean, I've even read one about this guy dying on a motorcycle, and he happened to have COVID, and they marked it motorcycle death as a COVID death. And it's like, why would they do that? And if they're going to do that for this, how many other people are they doing that
Exactly.
for? Because they get money. These hospitals get money from the government whenever there's a COVID death. So skewing the numbers is not out of the, I don't think that's a stretch to see that some of these hospitals are skewing the numbers and making the numbers to where it seems like the death rate is higher, higher than what it really is.
Right.
And it's still low. I mean, even if you factor in everything, it's still very, very low.
And even from, not even just on the hospital level, like, I feel very strongly that the DNC, as everything started unfolding, I started feeling very strongly that the DNC was using the pandemic to break people down, to isolate people, to make them feel so much despair that, that they would turn around and say, like, look at the, this Democratic nominee, it could, only the Democratic Party could save us,
Right,
and it's
right.
like,
it's like I said this before, and it was a phrase, but I think it was some kind of, I don't know what Democrat said it, but it was a Democrat that said, you never let a good crisis go to waste.
Hillary just said that, or didn't just, but in the election campaigns, she was saying that to Joe Biden even, and I know it goes back before that, but
yeah, absolutely. Never let a good crisis go to waste. And the Democrats are so good at that. I mean, the Republicans too. I mean, Republicans, what they did with 9/11, with the Patriot Act.
Yep.
You can come down to what they did with the pandemic. Everything that they did with the insurrection, or that they're going to do with the insurrection that happened on the 6th. You know what I mean? And they're going to use that to hurt conservatives.
Yep.
I want to go ahead and segue into another topic. This is going to be, what is the One Patriot movement, and what motivated the creation of the One Patriot movement? For me personally, what motivated this movement for me was the mainstream media lies. How they treated Donald Trump, how they treated his supporters, how they were so hypocritical in their way of shaping the narrative of left versus right. And they were very biased towards when an incident happened, towards the left, as opposed to when an incident happened towards the right. Now, we can go all the way from, even the biggest one, the riots that happened this last summer, where the riots were called peaceful protest. They would talk about how they would have their reporters, and then the reporters will go on and report how these protests are so peaceful and so uplifting, and it's not that bad when there's a burning building behind them. And it's just like they really think that we're dumb. They really think that we're stupid. But you know what? We're not stupid. We see the people who have intelligence, the people who are engaged are able to see that. And that is something that really motivated me to want to start this movement. I'm sick of the lies. I'm sick of how they treat us, and it's just something that I want to change. They are taking everything when they're taking everything that happened on the January 6th day where Donald Trump was giving his speech, and they impeached him for inciting an insurrection. And if you look at what he says, there's no way you can interpret that as an incitement of insurrection incitement. That's just mind-boggling how anybody can look at that and say, hey, he incited an insurrection. The way that they are targeting conservatives, the way that they are making to where they'll go from your canceling your bank account, they'll go from canceling you in your personal life, so where you can't get a job. They're going to where it's like almost having like a felony record. You're tainted pretty much if you are conservative. They will cancel you off of social media, deplatform you. They will do everything that they can to discourage you from having your values, just because you have a different set of values than they do. And I'm just not, I don't want to take it anymore. I'm done with it. I've been done with it for a long time, but I want to take a stand right now. So it's something that has been motivating me for a long time. I just did not know how to channel my energy into it. And I started a YouTube channel where I started making videos every day. And those videos were more like rants, just me just venting and getting some things off of my chest. But I credit Libby Lioux Patriot because she had the vision to actually give us an opportunity to take action. And I'm 100% for it, 100% behind her. That was my motivation to start and help her start this movement. But I'll let you talk about what is your motivation of the movement. And
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so I think it mirrors a lot of what you said. And it ties into, as I saw these changes, happening, my own views and perceptions shifting, the hate and the vitriol that I faced, that I saw my loved ones facing, was really alarming, and I'm not one to stand for it.
Right.
It's like I can't sit back and watch this happen. And so I kind of started thinking, what I'm tired of just talking about things, but I want to build something. I don't want to just like come at things from an angle of destruction, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I wanted to build something better for all of those that feel singled out, that feel like they can't stand up for their values, that feel like the very fact that they can't say I support my president is shameful. Really, it's shameful. And so it really motivated me to be like, I want to have a community, a village, a country, that's the ideal, right? Where I can have my values and live, I can have my values and also support others that share my values, and really just build that. And that's kind of where.
That's great. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And to piggyback on that, it's something that it gives us an opportunity to build with each other, to break bread with each other,
Yep.
network with each other. The institutions are controlled by the left. It doesn't matter what it is. I can go from entertainment, I can go Hollywood, I can go music, I can go education, I can go sports, which is a damn shame because I am a huge sports fan. I had to pretty much quit sports. My favorite player in the NFL is Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara put Jacob Blake on the back of his helmet because the NFL was allowing people to put social justice messages on their uniforms. And when he put Jacob Blake, I don't know if you guys remember who he is. He was a scumbag that was shot by the police, and justifiably shot by the police, in my opinion. And the courts and the DA and everybody, the Attorney General, the Attorney General of the state all came to the conclusion that he was justifiably shot. But he had, Alvin Kamara, my favorite NFL player, had Jacob Blake on the back of his helmet. And after I saw that, I was just disgusted with the NFL. And I couldn't watch a full NFL game. I didn't watch the Super Bowl. I haven't watched the NFL or the NBA, like a real-time game, in probably a year now. I might watch some highlights here and there, but I'm not going to sit there and watch a full game because I refuse to give them my views. I refuse to give them anything because they are 100% against my values. And this is one of the things that motivated me to start One Patriot. I want to make sure that we can have, like, I don't want to say safe space or anything, but a way to channel our power, if for lack of a better word, channel our voices, channel our money, channel our everything into institutions and businesses and education, and whether we're talking about the church, into those institutions, so we can empower them that reflect our values, instead of supporting corporations like Disney, Amazon, Google, Twitter, YouTube, any one of these corporations that are 100% against us, and they know that they're against us, and they tell you to your face that they're against us. Yet we still keep supporting these,
giving them our dollars,
and they don't respect anything except for your dollars.
That's right.
And I'm not saying we need to boycott everything, but we need to think about supporting our businesses that support us first. If it's like a last resort, you can't do this, like, I understand that, but we gotta, make sure that we're able to look at ourselves and say, hey, this might be a little bit inconvenient, but this is where it starts.
And I think that was an important, like, as I was thinking about things, well, how can I take action? How can I make an impact, right? I really had to reflect on, how I'm living my life, you know, and I think that's an important part, it's something we've discussed a lot, is like, it starts, sorry for,
if you guys hear anything, like, in the background, that's the dogs. They're kind of restless right now.
I know.
Especially this one right here.
So, zip it. Okay. Anyway, I just thought of one of our favorite YouTubers. And how his cat. Okay, go ahead. Come on, Beth. I don't want you to knock that over. Okay. Anyway, so it starts with the individual, right? Like, if we're not living our own life, in a way to where, practicing what we preach.
Right.
It has to start with the individual. And it starts with one patriot to build a
it's
to build
like
up,
right, absolutely. It's like what how you mentioned, it starts with the individual. We can get on here and rant all day.
Exactly. But until we're taking actual action in our lives and choosing to put our money where our mouth is, vote with our dollar, if we're willing to see that the cost of this convenience that we have is so much higher than the dollar amount.
Yeah.
Thinking of Amazon specifically, or, so it's like, but as I'm processing those things, as I'm going through thinking like, okay, well, how do I change? Like, how do I break free from this? And it's a hard thing to do. And so that was kind of like, I wanted to come up with an avenue for people to make it easier to make those changes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
we started this. We just recently started this, so we probably might have our. We're still fleshing this thing out.
Mm-hmm.
We're still talking about it, brainstorming it. We're still, this is in its infancy, and this thing is going to get
gestation.
Say that again.
It's still in its gestation.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah. So we're still, bouncing ideas off of each other and making sure that this thing could be a great thing for the future. We want this to be a movement. We want this thing to be big, and I believe it's going to be big. And I believe in Libby Lioux Patriot, and she believes in me. And we're going to make sure this thing is available and great for you guys to come in and you're able to use your power through One Patriot, or even through other avenues, or if we can direct you to somewhere else that supports your values and our values, that'll be great. But One Patriot, we want to do our part, so that's where One Patriot comes in. You have to make sure that you're telling everybody about this. Like, don't be afraid to come out and tell people around you about what you support and what your values are, because that person next to you might have the same values as you. And then you guys can network, and you guys can build together, and you guys can work on channeling your power into something that supports what you believe in. So
I think one thing that struck me, and I can't remember who said it, but I had been listening, because I was hesitant to be vocal about a lot of my, I don't want to say newfound, because my morals and my values are the same.
Yeah.
I've just realized that those they all reside at a different in a different place than I thought they were.
Yeah.
And someone said, if you're not speaking up about your values, if you're keeping them inside and you're not talking about them, and then one day you die, those values die with you. You know what I mean? And that was like whoa. You're right. Like, oh shoot. And hopefully that's many years down the road, but like, that was a very big moment for me just to think about that. Yeah, and I know we've been a little bit vague about exactly about what One Patriot is, other than a movement, but that's because, like you said, it's still developing, and but it is gonna be more than like you said, a movement, and there's gonna be actionable pieces to it where you're going to be able to benefit off our learning,
Yeah.
as we struggle
Yeah.
through the.
And I think we're gonna make mistakes, along the way. We're gonna learn from each other. We're gonna bounce ideas off of each other. This is more of a platform. This is more of a movement to where conservatives, libertarians, classic liberals, and people who are just done with the left wing culture,
Right.
which I believe is toxic.
Yeah.
We are losing. It just seems like we are losing the culture war
Yep.
on pretty much everything, and it's been that way since probably the mid '80s. The right used to have the culture war, and all of a sudden, the left has just taken over,
Right.
and now they are, they are with. I feel like with Obama, that just this solidified everything, as far as like the culture war, because there is a war going on, and we're currently losing it because they are able to have. Whenever you're able to control the narrative, and whenever you're able to have the moral high ground and have everything in your favor, you've already won. Even if you're wrong, you've won.
Yep.
It's, and I think I don't know if it was Machiavelli that said, it's not what's right and what's wrong. It's he who has the biggest gun who determines what's right or wrong. Now, now, yeah. So and we're not talking about like guns necessarily or anything violent, but what I'm trying to get at, the point that I'm trying to get at, is they have all the institutions,
Right.
so they can map out and say who's right and who's wrong.
And they can dictate
They
that.
can dictate that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So we have to, as conservatives, we're naturally individualistic people.
Yep.
We are naturally conservative. We're like laid like that. We want to just mind our own business and do our own thing. The left, liberals, are all about making noise, all about organizing, fighting the power. But right now, they are the power.
Yep.
Right now, they are. When you couple that with the enthusiasm they have to organize, come together, and fight for what they believe in, when they already have the power, it seems like we are losing. Like, have you ever noticed, like, when we, or I don't even say we because I don't consider myself a Republican, but when the Republicans had the presidency, the House and the Senate, it didn't even feel like the Republicans were in power. It still felt like the Democrats were in power, because anything that the Republicans tried to do, as far as doing like anything major, the Democrats would make a big stink about it, and the Republicans would be, oh, okay. It's like, man, the Democrats have no problem. Like, I feel like now that the Democrats have everything, they're gonna go full speed ahead.
They are steamrollers.
They are like, they're gonna go for guns. They're gonna go for everything. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. They are going to go for everything. The only thing they may or may not do is probably court pack, because that'll be crazy. Like at the Supreme Court level.
I hope they don't.
I don't think, when there are some Democrats that don't feel like that they're going to be able to get on board with that. But if they do court pack, they're really pushing it. But I don't know, man. The Democrats are very aggressive. And conservatives are naturally not organizers to fight, the power. They're about conserving what's already there. Just conserve. We just want to conserve what's already there, but it's not there anymore. Whatever you thought was there is not there anymore. So what you have to do is you have to organize. And what us too being formal liberals, we have to talk to other conservatives and saying this is how you're supposed to do it, because this is how we did it.
Yep.
When we were on the other side, we were always vocal about like how George Bush was such an a-hole, and how the Republicans were they were just horrible, and we organized and we did everything. We used everything, whether it be every institution that we could, Hollywood, movies, MSN or MSM,
Yeah.
and
Mainstream media.
Mainstream media.
Yeah.
MSM is mainstream media for those you don't know. Everything that we could use as being on the left, we were able to do that. Conservatives got to get in the game.
Yep.
It's no more sitting the sideline stuff. We have to get into the game.
Yeah.
Because like I said before, this is a culture war. We have to make sure that we have some kind of say in this, because we are just going to get steamrolled. And we cannot have that happen. I, speaking as a conservative, ask myself every day, what am I conserving? I ask other conservatives, what are you conserving? What are you conserving? What are you doing to make sure that we keep our traditional American values?
Yep.
And
Constitutional
yes,
values, our constitutional rights. What are you,
right.
you know?
And in the First Amendment, it really kills me. Like it's really funny because the First Amendment is really a liberal idea, but the liberals now are like all about censorship,
I know.
which is so hilarious.
That was another turning point for me. I
Yeah.
was just like, what is this? I can't.
They've come more
behind
like
it.
have more of an authoritarian kind of.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm with you. Like the libertarian in me, because I have a lot of libertarian tendencies, wants to be like, just, I'm just going to go move to a cabin. Leave me alone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, just let me do me. But the thing is that I could probably do that for a little bit.
Yeah.
But eventually they're going to come for me.
Yeah.
And if everybody that's opposed to what's happening on the left is just like, I'm just going to do my thing. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
There's, once it hits you, there's going to be no turning back. It's like, oh, snap. I should have, I should have gotten it involved. It's going to be too late.
Too late. Yeah. You can't sit the sidelines. You got to, these guys are coming for you full steam ahead, and they're not holding back.
No.
They are coming for you. I saw this one thing, and it was you sent that to me, where it was the thing about the school where they were like sending parents these how to teach your kids not to be white, or there was like something where they had eight what was it?
8 levels of whiteness.
8 levels of whiteness, yes.
Essentially, and it
right.
was just like,
yes.
Are you kidding me? Like, no.
This is what I said earlier. They are in your institutions. They have a hard grip on the institutions. They are trying to make your kids hate themselves.
Yep.
And they're doing it under the pretext that they are fighting racism. But they're being racist themselves.
Exactly.
These institutions are being racist themselves. It's so mind-boggling. It's like they want Jim Crow to come back.
Right.
It's like they want
under the guise of unity, which is just astounding to me.
Yeah. And it's just like crazy we we as conservatives, we need to get out of this mindset that if if I don't do anything, they'll just leave me alone. No, they won't leave you alone.
They won't. They will not leave you alone. It is not the party of tolerance.
No,
it is not the party of love and embracing, and
not at all.
Not at all. And
they're coming for your kids.
Like
if this doesn't motivate you, if they're coming for your kids, if you are a person that is of Caucasian persuasion right now, they are coming for your kids.
Yep.
And they are telling your kids that they are inherently, like, because they're white, they are inherently bad.
Yep.
So I don't know, but that would be a motivation for me.
That is.
I'm not white, but I know if anybody said to me that because my kid is black, that they are inherently bad, I would be pissed.
Right. And that is a big factor for me because I do have two kids, and they are in the public education system.
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to where their district is not fully ingrained and indoctrinated, and
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for that. They've got some great teachers, but it could happen.
It could happen. It's
they-
getting worse every year.
It is, and it could, if it came down to a government mandate where they have to teach this stuff, it's like I cannot get behind the critical race theory, and I'm not going to tolerate my kids being told that they're inherently bad.
It's already in the federal government. I
Yeah.
mean, it's garbage.
Yeah.
And speaking of teachers, when you were talking about how the pandemic kind of shaped your whole view on, political view on an outlook on things. I don't know if you heard the story where these educational board members, they were essentially making fun of the parents during a Zoom call. And
Oof.
it was,
Oh man.
my goodness.
Yeah.
And they didn't realize that the Zoom call was going on, and they were talking all this crap about
They
these
want their
parents.
babysitters.
They want their
back.
babysitters back. Like,
No.
wow. It's just like, oh my goodness.
For me, it's like I don't want a babysitter back. I'm terrible. I'm a terrible teacher as when it comes to I'm working. Single mom.
Yeah.
Work full time from home. Luckily, I work from home.
Yeah.
I would be a whole different world if that weren't the case.
Yeah.
So I do feel blessed for that. That said, I can teach my kids a lot of things. They need to be back in school.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And these teachers, I'm sorry if you're a teacher out there. I apologize. I know not all you are like this, but there are a lot of you teachers out there that are just, you gotta have some kind of compassion for these parents, because they were devastated by this pandemic just like you were. And to get on a Zoom call and do something like that is just super insensitive. It's just something we don't need right now.
No.
You are just a bad reflection on the educational system that is already has a very bad negative approval rating.
Yes, and not to mention the insensitivity to the parents, but also, kids' mental health.
Absolutely.
And
you're just upset because you have to babysit the kids again.
Yeah.
I mean, you pick your career. I mean, I'm not saying that teachers have to deal with or should have to deal with and tolerate a bunch of BS, but this is the career field that you're in. I mean, there's some things that I don't like about my career, but
Same.
it's what I picked.
Yep.
So,
right, and
teachers have a tough job. I'm not I'm not
100%.
saying that they have it easy, but
I'm very grateful to them.
yeah,
You know?
I love the teachers for it, but it's just this attitude that you don't want to open up. It's just, and it's a, I've even heard something where they were like, the teachers union said something along the lines of, if you want the schools to open up, then you're racist.
Right.
It's like, if anything, you should, when you look at the studies, what race of people or what ethnic background is being hurt by these lockdowns, these school lockdowns? It's mostly the minority people. It's mostly the minority people that are having issues with this. So it's, how can you say that? How can you say that? It's like, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. I think we derailed quite a bit
Yes.
from the original conversation.
Yes.
But
that's okay. That's okay.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
We could probably have a whole other podcast about that for
Absolutely.
sure, which I'm sure we will.
So we are going to go and segue into pretty much who are we going to ask to join this movement? Who are we looking to speak to? Who is this movement going to look to and ask the question, how can you get involved in your own life? Maybe how can you get involved into the One Patriot movement? And the ones that I can really want to target are the conservatives, the libertarians, the classic liberals, the Christians. People like to shy away from religion, but they are an important piece.
Very
because
important.
religion is something that it's like a glue that holds communities together.
Absolutely. And I know you touched on it earlier about wanting to get God more involved in life, and I think that a lot of people are shamed. It's like, it's not cool to be, to be Christian. It's not. It's like, ugh. It's almost like an icky topic.
Well, I actually, to actually counter that, I kind of believe that everything, when you add Christianity, you add the conservatives, you add the libertarians, and even the classic liberals, I feel like we are the cool ones because we are the new punk rock. We are the anti-establishment. We are the ones that everybody is looking down on right now.
Yeah.
So when somebody says Christians are this and Christians are that, you know what? I wear it with a badge of honor because you are part of the establishment. They are on your side. We are against you. So I'm drawing the line through the sand right now, and I'm saying, I'm here. We're here.
Yep.
You guys are over there. So there are more. You guys have the power. So we are the anti-establishment people. Jesus is anti-establishment.
Yep. We are the rebellion.
Yes, we are the rebellion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we might not be cool in the lens, from the lens of the establishment.
Right.
But I'm happy to be looked at as uncool from the lens of the establishment, because that means that I'm counterculture. That means that I am the punk rock.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, I forgot my original point to it, but yeah, agreed. I don't know. We'll move on.
Yeah. So I want to let you guys know who we are fighting, and we touched on it throughout this podcast, but I want to be specific on who our enemy is. And the three that are at the top of the list for me is the establishment, the corporations, the legacy media. Who I mean about the legacy media, I'm talking about Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, ABC,
Yeah.
CBS. Those are the legacy media that I want to fight. New York Times, Washington Post.
Disempower them.
Yes,
Yeah.
I want to fight those people. They are the ones that are shaping the narrative. They are the ones that are causing everybody to come down on us, the conservatives, the libertarians, the classic liberals.
Yep.
So we have to identify the enemy. If we don't identify the enemy, we can't fight the enemy. So
And when we say enemy, I want to make it, it's like the enemy to the American people on a whole, not just to conservatives specifically. I think that's more about what one patriot, but like people need to realize like these are not your friend.
not
Mainstream media is not your friend. They are not. They do
yeah,
not have
I
your
mean,
back.
on the left and the right, they're
Yeah,
not.
exactly.
They're not. Yeah, like you said. Yeah, it's not even just conservatives. They, what the only thing they are worried about is making money.
Money.
And in order to do that, you have to have division. Because what is the motivating factor for creating controversy? You know, what is the motivating factor for generating the clicks, generating the views, selling newspapers, selling whatever, selling fear.
Yep.
That is the motivational factor. In order to fear something, there has to be something there to fear.
Yep.
Who is the boogeyman? There has to be a boogeyman.
Right.
Conservatives right now are the main boogeyman. Anything that is pro-America or pro-patriotic is the boogeyman. I never thought I would see the day, but here we are.
I know that was another big turning point for me. Not to digress too much, but it's like growing up, the American flag to me, America was so celebrated.
Yeah.
Like, and then to come to a point where it's like, I can't fly an American flag without being called a racist.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Get out. No, like that was an eye opener for me.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I remember we used to pledge allegiance, to the country and to the flag, and now it's like we're kneeling and we're burning flags now.
Yeah. The burning of the flags.
Right. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
So that's just something that we have to establish. We have to establish who the enemy is, and I don't necessarily look at people on the left as like everyday people on the left as the enemy. I view the establishment as the enemy that are pitting us
against each other.
Right, because my mom is a leftist. My mom is a Democrat.
The majority of my friends, my close dear friends are, left leaning. I'll say.
Yeah. And,
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback off of that, I don't view my mother as the enemy.
Right.
The difference is, though, I will say this. People on the left, we on the right, let's start with us on the right. We look at people on the left, and I don't want to generalize, but I feel like this is something that I can safely say. Us on the right view people on the left as misinformed. People on the right legitimately view us on the right as legitimately evil.
Yes, 100%. And I've experienced that in very real situations. It's like, to see that shift when you're coming from the left, to the right, to have that moment like, oh wow, I've never been treated by anybody on the right like I've been treated by people on the left. Once you're not a leftist anymore, it's like, what?
Absolutely. I've never been called a derogatory name from anybody on the right.
Right.
Ever in my life. Like, I've had a bunch of conservative friends and a bunch of, people who are conservative when I was on the left, and they never called me out my name. It wasn't until I got into, I changed my political views that you could take a look at my YouTube channel and look at some of the comments. My YouTube channel is Burning Spear Patriot on YouTube. If you want to look that up. Well, there are some comments on there, and it's not every single comment, but there's some comments on there, and it's just disgusting what they would say, which is fine. I mean, I'm 100%, First Amendment, and I want people to be able to, voice their opinions, even if they are negative. But I just noticed the difference, So that's just one of those things.
Absolutely. I did want to touch on corporations too a little bit and why that's viewed. It's not all corporations by any means.
Absolutely not.
I believe in capitalism.
I'm a capitalist too.
Yep. There is no shame in making money. Absolutely not. What we're talking about more specifically is abusive corporations.
Yes.
These corporations that don't care about their workers, they don't care about this community.
Yeah.
They're destroying small businesses.
Yes.
Again, I'm for competition.
Yeah.
But when they come to be more of like a monopoly, when it ends up, when the cost of hitting that buy now button is higher than the dollar amount that you're actually paying, it's coming at a cost to your community. It's coming at a cost to your health.
Yeah.
It's actually financially costing you more money.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you're able to analytically put that into it's very complex, and very at the same time you put it in terms of where everybody can understand, and appreciate that. I wanted to, speaking of corporations, here's an example, an easy example where if you're a conservative, you can probably this is very, 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 very true. And if you look at it this way, it's like when you look at the corporations, look at the big corporations, who were they supporting this past summer?
Yep.
The same people who were burning down the small businesses,
Yep.
the same people who were causing terror, killing people.
Yep.
They were burning down these small businesses while they got richer.
Right. Not only did they get richer off the pandemic, by astounding amounts of money because they were allowed to stay open while these small businesses were shut down.
Yeah, exactly.
They also were
applauding, supporting and applauding BLM. I'm just going to come out and say it. They were supporting and encouraging BLM while they were burning down businesses, killing people, assaulting people, causing actual insurrection.
Right.
I mean, everybody remembers Chaz and Chop. Mm-hmm. Everybody remembers that. Everybody remembers when they were setting up these zones in New York City. Right. It was ridiculous. Right. And every corporation you see has got some BLM crap posted on their freaking, or advertising some BLM crap. I hate BLM, and I'm
threatening.
I hate BLM. I think they're evil. I don't support it. I am an all lives matter guy, and I don't care what anybody says. If you have a problem with that, tough
cookies.
Yeah, tough cookies.
I tell my kids all the time, tough cookies, tough tamales.
Yep. So when I saw that, they were supporting the BLM movement, and every corporation you see, every time you turn on the damn TV, which is why one of the reasons I don't watch TV consistently anymore, I mean, even when I try to watch, something on YouTube, there's like an advertisement about, BLM sometimes. It's gotten ridiculous. I mean, you could go from, I mean, even in schools, they're supporting BLM.
Yep.
Even in sports and entertainment,
Yep.
they're supporting BLM. So these corporations, I definitely view them as the enemy. Like you said earlier, touched on how they were exploiting the pandemic, and they were happy the pandemic happened. Amazon was so happy; they made so much
Gleeful.
money because the small little man was getting crushed during the pandemic,
Yep.
and they were just striving because they were able to stay open, and they had the resources
Yep.
to stay open, and everybody was forced to go to Amazon.
Yep.
So it's one of those things where they want to crush the small man, So
Absolutely.
we have to point that out that they are the enemy.
There's so many other ways they crush the small
Yes.
man too.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll have a deep dive into that
absolutely.
another time. But yeah, just well, one of the things too, just touching back a little bit, not only was BLM like burning down businesses, they were threatening small businesses.
Absolutely.
They were like holding them hostage, like if you don't do this. Where was that one instance at?
Well, yeah, there was an incident that happened in, I think it was Florida or something like that, where they were extorting businesses,
Exactly.
where they would go and they would say, they gave them like like rules or guidelines on how they were supposed to support BLM. Their staff had to be, I think it had to reflect the population of black people in that city. So if there was 18% black people, that establishment or that business had to hire at least 18% black people. They had to have all the employees go through racial sensitivity class or some kind of racial sensitivity training. They were forcing they wanted to force these businesses to give a certain amount of money to black activist causes or black causes or something that was beneficial to the black community. And it was just like a plethora of just a bunch of BS. And these were like immigrants.
Right.
It was like, these weren't even like big corporations. These were like actual small business immigrants
They
that
weren't
they
even,
were
like,
coming in.
white-owned
They weren't even,
businesses.
they weren't white owned businesses. These were like Cuban immigrants that had like a restaurant, and these black craptivists, I like to call them craptivists. Shout out to Sticks Hexenhammer who came up with that term. But these craptivists were going to these small businesses and imposing them on them. If you don't do this, then we're going to come over here every day and we're going to protest.
Right.
And we're going to they went and broke their pottery. They broke a glass, I think. And it's like, you have a right to protest, but what are you protesting? And who are you to tell a business how they should operate?
Right.
I know you can protest, and that's fine.
I'm all for
right.
protest.
But
not
anytime,
rioting and extortion.
Yes, exactly. And that's exactly what they were doing. So I'm just like, what the heck? I don't support BLM. I think they're a terrorist organization, and I can't stand them. And they have regressed race relations in this country.
Absolutely.
They have not
100% agree with
progressed
that.
anything. They have not done anything but make money. And that is it.
Right. They've caused so much division.
Yeah.
Without having any impact really that I could see
Right.
as an organization. Like,
Yes, BLM, I'm saying this right now as a co-founder of One Patriot, is an enemy. I view them as an enemy along with the establishment, the corporations, and the legacy media. They are an enemy, and that's just me, but I view them as an enemy.
And I would second that.
Yeah.
You know, that's not to say that we're not, you know, you touched on it earlier, you know, it's not that we're not for building up Black communities.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that's not it at all.
I just think
like,
there's a different way that we can go about it.
100%.
Like there's you know, what we've been trying has been the old way of the, you know, the old Al Sharpton freaking Jesse Jackson way is not working.
Right.
That has been done for years and decades. We're not doing that anymore. At least over here at One Patriot, we're not doing that. So I'm 100% against how they do things, because the only thing that has helped has been themselves. You know, the Jesse Jacksons, the Al Sharptons, they haven't helped anybody but themselves.
Yep.
So we need to start joining a movement that is beneficial to the people directly.
And that's the thing, directly, not just this like big umbrella of,
I mean, even BLM, you know, look at, they made what, $10 billion?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. They made a huge amount of money, and
Yeah. Where did that money go?
I am actually, I tried to research that earlier. It's not transparent on their website at all. You can like request stuff from all these different states and chapters, and it's like, you know, maybe there's some logistical reason for that. I'll give them like a sliver of grace there, I guess. But it's like, to me, it's like that should be far more transparent when you're making that amount of money.
Absolutely.
Off of.
Absolutely. I you know, I mean, none of these communities that they were so-called fighting for has seen any of that money.
Yeah.
So, it's like, it's weird. It's just super sketchy, and I don't trust it. And I believe if there was some kind of real investigation, that something probably would come up. But that's probably never going to happen. But I don't know. Maybe.
Yep. We'll see.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
Yeah. So, I think we're going to just about wrap it up.
Yep.
Any last thoughts?
No, just a lot of thoughts. I take that back.
Yeah.
But, you know, I am just really excited to be working with you on this project.
Yeah.
And I hope that anybody else that is feeling, you know, disheartened and, you know, displaced, or that they can't, you know, be vocal about, you know, their values, or they're not sure how to, you know, where to approach their changes, and, you know, where they can effectively effectively make change.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That they'll join One Patriot.
Yeah,
movement,
absolutely.
And just excited to see where this goes.
Yeah.
So.
I think I know where this is going, and I think it's going to go straight to the top.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm excited to see where this goes, but I kind of have an idea. I'm grateful to have start this with you. I'm grateful to be here at the beginning, to see it in its infancy. Like I said before, it's still in its infancy. We're still fleshing the details out. We're still, we have an idea, but it's very vague, but it's always, we're pointed in the right direction, and we're going to flesh it out.
Yeah.
And we're going to let you guys know with each podcast, little by little, what minor details and what little, even some of the tweaking we're going to be doing within this movement.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, we're being vague.
We're
being vague. We have very specific ideas.
Right. Yeah, we have specific ideas, but we're being vague just in the context of, we want to just keep this particular podcast introductory.
Yeah.
Yes, we want to just introduce exactly, you know,
us and the community we want to build.
Right. We wanted to tell you who we're targeting, who, you know, what we're about. Yeah. On a basic level.
Exactly, without the specificity of
right.
what we're hoping One Patriot
Yeah.
evolves into. So
yeah, I mean, it's going to be great. It's gonna be great.
Yes. Very
Yeah,
excited.
and in these podcasts, we're going to have a setup to where we do probably 2 podcasts a week. One's going to be more motivated towards the One Patriot movement, and then the other one's going to be on current events, where it's a more of a relaxed environment, and we're just kind of ranting on that one. We're going to be talking about mainly the current the current events and the political world on these podcasts. So that'll be kind of like a treat to watch, because those are the ones where I really get in. And
Very animated.
Yes, I get very animated, and I'm very excited to get this thing going.
Yeah,
But,
me
yeah.
too. And I hope that as we grow as a podcast and as One Patriot kind of takes more shape, that, we want to be transparent with everybody and the development of it, and ourselves too, like
Yeah.
in our lives. And, so it's like, while I'm bashing on Amazon right now, I also, like, as a customer, like, they're great. It's hard convenience to
Absolutely.
beat.
I cannot look at Amazon and say that I am disappointed as a customer.
Exactly.
Only thing that I have against Amazon is their
Ethics.
their ethics. There's viciousness towards the little guy, and their viciousness towards people like you and I.
Yep.
So I hope maybe one day we can have a conservative version of Amazon. It's just we want to support the people who have the same values as we do.
Exactly.
So that's what it's all about
That's what it's all about. At the end of the day.
at the end of the day. But I think that's about, all she wrote. That is the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm Burning Spear Patriot. You can find my YouTube channel. The handle is the same name, Burning Spear Patriot. I put on videos. I haven't been as frequent putting on videos, but I want to definitely start that up. In addition to doing these podcasts with Libby Lioux Patriot. So, with that said, God bless you. God bless this country. Anything to add?
Yeah. And I'm Libby Lioux Patriot. I have a couple channels, but nothing too formal yet. So I'll get those listed and built up a little bit.
Yes, I want to add to that. I do have a channel on Rumble, and I also have a channel on BitChute. So look for me on BitChute at the same handle, Burning Spear Patriot. Burning, like a burning piece of paper, spear, like you're chucking a spear, and Patriot. You all know the word Patriot.
Yeah.
So put that all in one word, and it's Burning Spear Patriot. And then I have channels on those 3 platforms that I mentioned: YouTube, Rumble, and BitChute.
All right. Well,
All right.
from one patriot to another, I wish you a good night.